Hey, everybody. Hope you are doing well and enjoying this Tuesday evening. It has been a really long time since I've been live, and really just have been living my life and um, getting used to this new chapter that I'm in. And it's been beautiful and exciting and scary all at the same time. Being a newly single woman again, being a new entrepreneur. I actually just moved into my own space after a year and a half of being different places. Um, and so it feels really good. It feels really good. And there are times when, especially being in the new place, where it really hits me in the morning time. Sometimes when I wake up, I am overwhelmed with anxiety because I'm reminded that I'm in this new place, not physical place, but place in my life, and I don't have everything figured out, and I've been used to having things figured out. And so really grateful to have the support of family and friends and my practices that really keep me grounded and help me to remember the bigger picture, help me to remember the things that I've asked for, that I have received, and the things that I'm doing, and it feels good. I feel really full. And so that is kind of what I want to talk to you for a little bit about tonight is how you living, are you living a fulfilled life? Hey, Peaches. And I wanted to share 3 ways for you to experience more satisfaction in your life. So the first thing is really to tell the truth about your unfulfillment. I think that oftentimes, hey, Benny, oftentimes we aren't really honest with ourselves about areas where we are not satisfied. And so allow yourself that space, whether it's journaling, talking to yourself out loud, talking to a friend, talking to a therapist or a coach. Allow yourself to tell the truth about where you're not satisfied. Maybe it's in your relationships or friendships. Maybe it is in the work that you're doing. Maybe it is the sex that you're having, right? Tell the truth that you're not satisfied, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's time for you to go to somebody else and tell them how they're not pleasing you, right? What I'm saying is you getting honest that you're simply not satisfied. The second thing is tell the truth about what you want. So it's not enough to talk about, this not working or this isn't what you like. You want to talk about what it is that you want to experience. So if you're not satisfied at work, what would you like to experience more of? In the same way, maybe you do that in journaling or creating a list and writing down. And you might start that way, where you look at where you're dissatisfied and what you aren't experiencing and what you want to experience. And this is a great practice to do, because when you have that list, you can start to look at areas where you can provide things for yourself. So you can start to look at how are you taking care of yourself, right? What's your self-care looking like? So maybe you want someone who challenges you or, stimulates your mind, right? So what are you doing with yourself, by yourself, that stimulates your mind, that stimulates your body, that stimulates your spirit, right? How are you experiencing fulfillment, even just with yourself, by yourself? What do you do to take care of yourself? And the last thing is tell the truth about what you're willing to do to get what you want, right? So this includes making a decision. So maybe you have identified that I'm not really taking care of myself. And so you want to make your self-care a priority. This is also where you're creating a plan, you're taking action steps, you have accountability. You give yourself a set amount of time, 21 days, 30 days to work this plan. And you reflect at different top points in those 30 days, if you will, to see how is this working for you? How are you feeling, after 10 days? Is it helpful? Is it not working? And so this is what I do with helping women who really are looking to be more satisfied in a different in an area in their life. And so working with them through one-on-one coaching and programs to help them with these 3 different areas, basically. And so one of the programs that I actually have coming up on this Thursday, which I'm really excited about, is the Mama Moon Taught Me experience. So here we are going to look at the moon and the different phases of the moon. And really take the time over the 30 days to look at the areas in your life as a woman where you have possibly denied yourself, dismissed parts of yourself. And so I really do believe that that is heavily linked to your unfulfillment, right? So when you think of being a whole woman, a satisfied woman, a fulfilled woman, if there are parts of yourself that you have neglected, that you do not own, that you do not even see a part of who you are as a woman, how are you going to feel full, right? And so when we look at the moon, who is all things feminine, all things woman, and you look at the different stages that she goes through over a month's time, you should be able to identify and see those parts of yourself that you feel comfortable identifying with, and those parts of yourself that maybe you know nothing about. So for example, as I, spent a lot of time, doing my own personal work over the last couple of years, I realized that part of my dissatisfaction and part of why I wasn't fulfilled was because there were parts that I wasn't owning about who I was, right? So I was comfortable being a giving person, the person that supported others, nurtured others. And in doing that, I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't making myself a priority, right? There also was a part of me that wasn't comfortable with my sensual side, right? And so there are some women that haven't tapped or connected to that part of themselves, and this is what's leading to their unfulfillment because they don't see themselves as sensual. Maybe because of something that someone said, or maybe they were told that it was bad or wrong. And so they kind of dismissed or disregarded that it was possible for them. There are some of us who struggle with owning the fire that's in them, or maybe the inner bitch, right? And so I, for example, was always the nice one, right? And, very mild in the way that I would deliver and try to be very understanding. And those are all great things. But what can happen is people can take advantage, and there are times when you have to, as a part of your self-care, set boundaries and tell people no when you mean no, and tell people, what's not okay. And some people are really uncomfortable with that. And so part of why you are experiencing dissatisfaction is because you are frustrated that you're not able to communicate what it is that you want or tell somebody like, this isn't okay for me, because you feel like you can't because you are, the nice girl. And so really, when you look at, if you were to create a list of all things woman, everything that you've experienced with a woman, that you've seen in a woman, both the what you consider positive and negative, you have the ability to be all of that, right? And when you deny yourself the ability to take in, because all of it actually serves you, right? So that same woman who you don't like because she tells people like it is, there's a part of you that may really want to have some of that, because you are kind of just the person that says yes to everything. And you want to know, how can I really be honest? Yeah. And so I think, what was this, Christina? How do you better communicate yourself to others? I think that it starts with you, right? So oftentimes we want to think about, like, how can we better connect with other people? How can I experience better friendships, relationships? But if you haven't taken even time to communicate with you, to get honest about your own feelings, to get honest about what you want, to take time and be consistent with that type of practice. It's like you can't give what you don't have. So you can't give this beautiful communication with someone else that you're not really cultivating with you. And remember, there are things where we feel more comfortable doing. So some people just by nature are more self-reflective, and they already do journaling, and they take the time to gather their thoughts and are honest with how they feel. And some people, that's not their thing, right? And then there are some people who have no problem telling people how they feel, but they are afraid of being soft and vulnerable, and letting people know that, that sometimes they are insecure. So it's really about connecting with those parts of you that you aren't as comfortable with. This is how you develop being whole. This is how you grow. And so in doing that, then now you can take that outside and do that better with other people. And so in this 30-day program, you'll have an exercise that you'll do each day that will help you to connect to the different parts of yourself. And you will also receive group coaching with me. So we'll meet 4 times over the course of the month. And we have a private Facebook community so that you'll be able to connect with and be supported by the other women that are in the process, and kind of hear the beautiful things, the challenges that they're experiencing, so that you know that you're not alone. And, I think that this is a really powerful time for women, because a lot of women are starting to get more honest about where they are in their lives and are looking for the support. And the truth is that we really don't have to do this alone. And I think that particularly in this society, we have this idea that, we need to figure it out by ourselves. So a lot of people will kind of hop in, even on something like this, live, and they'll listen and it resonates with them. And they'll try to take what I'm saying and kind of figure it out all by themselves. And we honestly just don't have to do that anymore. We really can be supported. And so what this program does is allows you to have support with this process, where you don't have to figure it out. And after, because what I see happening is people doing it by themselves, and you're taking a year to do something that can be done in 30 days, that can be done in a 6-month process, that really can set you on your way, and you can be experiencing the life that you want more fully than you are now, because you're getting the support that you need. So I hope, I see there are a couple of you still on. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the comment section. And I hope that this was helpful. And if it was helpful to you, feel free to share the video. Take a look at the link for the Mama Moon Taught Me experience and check that out. And I hope that you're able to join us. And tell a friend, maybe you and one of your sisters can do it together. And even if it's just you, you deserve to have a life of fulfillment. And so take a look, and if it resonates with you, sign up. And so if there aren't any questions, I'm going to hop off. And I really am grateful for those of you who have joined me. Those of you who have been with me, I feel, on this journey and kind of seeing me get to this new place, and whether publicly or privately, have shared an encouraging word, or ask questions even. I really appreciate you. So I think that do-it-yourself attitude comes from the notion that manning woman up is a self-mission. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that we are suffering because of it. And a lot of people feel guilt and shame because they're not able to woman up. They're not able to take care of themselves. And a lot of people are really suffering in silence. And so, now is the time for us to, we are returning to a place where we remember that community is important, that we were never created to do it all by ourselves. There are things that we're going to go through on our own anyways through this journey, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't have to go through alone. And it's not enough just to actually show up in a space and observe, but really allow yourself to fully embrace it and to take advantage of it, to ask questions, to admit what you don't know. This is how you experience real satisfaction in your life, when you are showing that you really want it, right? And it is scary, right? But anything new is going to be scary, and it's okay. And allowing yourself to have the support of other people, and particularly with women, we've had a lot of experiences, many of us, where we haven't felt supported, or we haven't felt that you can trust, right? And so we are seeing where safe spaces are being created, but there's a part of you that has to surrender to that and be okay with being vulnerable and knowing that you're safe. And so through all of these things, I know from personal experience that you really can transform your life. So because that means admitting that you're lacking in an area, which means vulnerability, absolutely. And I think that's what makes us human, right? It's when we admit that we don't have it together, and not just say things like, I'm not perfect, but actually admit, like, here's where I struggle. Here is where, I want to do better. I want to improve. I need help. And I think the more that we do that, the more it becomes the norm. And this is to be coupled with accountability as well, and actually making a decision and actually following through with a plan. Because I think that we've had, many of us have also had many spaces where we've had friends, that we are almost using as therapists. And we just sit and we talk about what we don't have, what we don't want, or what we want, and then we don't do anything about it, right? And because we are friends, some of us are really fortunate to have those people that will hold us accountable and are really more solution-oriented, right? And so they're not going to allow you to just stay on the phone forever and not do something. And so, spaces like this, where you're actually going to say out loud some of the things that you want, or now you have like a community that is watching, and it's done in love, so that you're able to follow through and actually have what it is that you want. So how do you address triggers that come from others who may be doing their best to communicate without discouraging them? So I think the best way to look at triggers, and so even during some of the activities, like we'll do things like even breathing exercises where you begin to connect with the different parts of your body, right? So you can identify that there are parts of you that get triggered. Like some people don't even know that they're triggered. They just get mad and start going off. But there are things that happen in your body as signals to let you know that you're getting to a place where you're getting angry, you're getting annoyed. And so while you are doing these things, part of what you get to learn how to do is to pay attention before it even gets to that place, and to pause and see what's going on with me. Why is this triggering me? What is it about what this woman is doing that makes me so upset, right? What is it that she's doing that's upsetting me? What is it that possibly I maybe want more of? Why do I dislike, the fact that she's loud or whatever the thing is, right? Or that she's getting what she wants. So in doing this and actually talking about it, even with me, or sharing it in the group, here we can actually provide questions and support to allow you to go deeper and to see what's going on here, so that you can really maintain what it is that you came for in the experience, so that you can have what you want. Because I think a lot of times those triggers are things that get in the way of us having what we want. We get so overwhelmed by what is happening on the outside, and we aren't doing enough checking in on the inside and working on what we really want to focus on, which is ourselves. And so then, it's like almost like sabotaging the process and ourselves. And so then if I just get pissed off and I curse you out, and, then I don't have to deal with it. And so it actually comes up a lot in doing this work, because we've built these walls, and some of the things that we're doing, it's like poking at those spaces. And so it gives you an opportunity to even pay attention to when you're being triggered, when you're being poked. It's really just letting you know that there's an area that needs to be tended to. So hope that answers the question. And doing so with others brings a checks and balances effect, where we can not only check in on each other, but we can longingly hold each other accountable. Such a thin line between constructive criticism versus judging. Yeah. And so even in these spaces, we actually talk about how to support one another, because I don't think a lot of us, we have in our idea, well, this is what I do to support this. I know how to support people. And really it's not helpful, right? A lot of times we don't even ask, how people want to be supported, or some of us don't even know what we need support in. Sometimes we struggle in just asking, I just need someone to listen, or I really need a hug, or I really need an encouraging word. Sometimes we don't even know what we need. And so we'll talk about that, how we, what that looks like in a healthy way, because it's really not about you fixing them, saving them, or trying to fix things for them. Really, what we all want is to be able to be empowered and be able to tap into different parts of ourselves that allow us to deal with some of the things that we haven't been able to deal with for many years. And so I think in these spaces where we see, you know, sister circles and healing circles, we really are redefining what this thing looks like, because we can't take some of the things that we see on TV, and even things, practices that we've seen in our family amongst women, and say that support, because really, you know, if we're honest, some of the things that we saw weren't healthy, right? And that's no judgment. It's just the truth. The part of the reason that we're in these positions and we're seeking the help that we want is because we were in or experienced unhealthy dynamics with other women. And so it's about learning and relearning what that looks like, what sisterhood even looks like. You know, some people even think sisterhood means that you have to be best friends, which isn't true. And it's important to me to create spaces for us to talk about these things and redefine what it looks like. And so this is how we can start to do that. And so I do not believe there are any, thank you so much for the questions and the comments and just joining me. I really appreciate it. So Taj says, heart palpitation, sweating, inside, temperature rising, usually triggers or something from your history. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so some people, like even, you know, these were conversations that I would have with my students in the classroom, helping them to identify like what their triggers were. You know, so these would be the journal questions that they would have is, you know, what made them angry, what triggers them. And some of, they were, you know, they were always super honest about things. Like some of them would say, like, I have no idea. All I know is I get mad and I start like cursing people out, right? Some people, you know, could identify that, you know, these certain things, when someone gets, you know, in my face, when somebody's pointing at me, when somebody is like trying to call me out, you know. And what happens is when we don't have, because I mean, I didn't have those type of conversations when I was in high school, right? When we don't have those type of conversations and support people in identifying these things, those same young people grow up to be adults who still don't know what triggers them. And because we're grown now, we have this pressure of feeling that we need to like know what to do and figure it out. And then we end up in these situations, just like my students would talk about, where they would get into a fight or an argument and they're embarrassed after because they know they shouldn't have handled it that way, but they really don't know how to handle it. And so, so this is, we have to have places for adult women to learn the things that we didn't learn, you know, before. So, or dress alike and think alike. A true safe space is a place where people can be themselves and love and support. Absolutely. Do you think dreams communicate to us? Absolutely. I'm not a, you know, I don't interpret dreams, but definitely, you know, I think that sometimes depending on the trauma that we've experienced in our life, things that we haven't been able to cope with, where we've had to respond in a way for survival. So a lot of you may be familiar with like fight or flight, you know, freeze, which is what happens when, you know, someone feels in danger. So often many of us went through experiences through our lives where for survival, for us to just get through it, we fought our way through it. We shut down and left our mind and went somewhere else, you know, to cope. And so part of what happens in these type of processes and in these type of conversation is like you're being brought to those things that you have like tried to push aside and forget. And what you see is that I think in dreams, sometimes what you couldn't handle or deal with, in this realm, you can dream about, and if you remember and recall the dreams, it's really there to help you to really connect with these parts of yourself that maybe you have denied or pushed aside, So yes. Hi, Carlos. So mindfulness, absolutely. So being able to pay attention to what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what, like what gives you joy, what gets you excited, what makes you angry, like just being aware. Like, to me, this is also a part of spirituality, right? So even the term mindfulness now, it's the kind of the new hot thing. But I think that in a lot of spiritual practices, like connecting to yourself, whether it is, or even practices like yoga and different things, where it's all about connecting mind, body, spirit, that you have to connect with the breath, that you need to connect with the body, the sensations that are happening in your body, that you need to connect with the divine. These are how you are able to understand yourself more, so that you can really experience what it is that you want. So I talked about this earlier when I said that part of why many of us are not experiencing fulfillment is because I think there are parts of ourselves that we aren't connecting with, right? And we're going outside of ourselves to try to be satisfied. And it helps temporarily, but it will always bring you back to a place really so that you can go deeper within yourself. Identify what is going on here. What is it that I'm longing for? What is it that I want to experience? What can I provide for myself? What can I ask for support in? What can I ask to experience with someone else? So it really is about getting to know ourselves more, because that is the only way that we can experience life more fully, right? So I think that is it. These are great questions. And Peaches, did I answer the question about dreams? Do you think they communicate with us? Yeah, I definitely think that they're here to send messages of sorts. And you can, look up meanings of dreams and things, to even help with that. So I think, Taj has one more comment. Turning up and going ham is expected now in the age of social media, right? And it's like cute for TV until you got a whole job and you do that and lose it, or until you do that in that relationship and that's why it ends, And so what's happening now is you see that people are in places where they're ending up alone or dissatisfied, and they really don't know, because, if I see on TV that this is how you handle problems or conflict, it seems like this is the normal thing to do. And if you don't know of other ways to do it, or you're more comfortable with being aggressive, you have no way, you have no idea of how to listen and be able to hear things that are uncomfortable, that you don't like, and to be able to be okay. Like, it's a skill. It's like a muscle that you have to develop. And so in a lot of the exercises that you do in this program, that's what you're doing, is you're developing these habits. These are things that you can take after the 30 days and make it a practice, make it a part of your life, so that like it becomes, your lifestyle. It's not something that you're trying to fit in with what you're already doing. It's really about identifying what's working for you and what's not, and start replacing, because it's not enough to identify this isn't working for me and cutting it off if you have nothing to replace it with. And so as a result of doing these type of programs, you really are developing a toolbox or a toolkit, and learning how to use these things in a way that works for you. And these spaces are where you get to practice, because it's a safe space. You don't know yet how it works for you, right? And so you go out and you try to do these things like in your relationship, and you don't experience the success you want, and now you're frustrated. Sometimes, like if I, for example, like maybe I'll use myself, struggled with using my voice, just speaking up, standing up for myself, sharing my opinion, right? I was able to work that out in spaces like this because we were asked to share, and it wasn't enough to just be in the room. That because oftentimes, like I remember one of my coaches would talk about how we're so accustomed to showing up and getting, right? So even like sometimes, like even growing up in church, it's like you go to church just to get a good word, right? And really in healthy relationships and dynamic, there is an exchange that's taking place, right? You are receiving something and you're giving something. And sometimes in these space, sometimes your presence is enough. You paying attention, you saying to someone, I see you, right? And I honor your experience. That alone is a deposit, something that you're giving, right? Sometimes I think that when we have the space to learn how to give in different ways, or even learn how to receive, like some people are really uncomfortable with receiving compliments, right? They don't know how to be praised or celebrated or encouraged. Like you get to do that too. And you get to, like it's a thing where we need to be comfortable with other people really wanting to love on us. And, you know, oftentimes I think even with women, we only seek that like with a partner, you know, a man, but we're not comfortable. We don't trust when it comes from a woman, right? And so we've got to really learn how to do this thing. You know, it just doesn't happen because you say that you want it. These are spaces where you get to practice it and see it in real life. We said, or until somebody beats your ass, just look at Love and Hip Hop, maybe, I don't know, or Basketball Wives. Effective communication takes a backseat to throwing drinks in faces, and those are grown women. Gotta break the cycle. I like what you're doing. Thank you. And so, yeah, I think that's exactly what this about, is breaking the cycle and telling the truth about it. It's not about blaming or saying that, you know, the women that raised us were bad women, but it's really just being honest that we didn't really get what we needed. Some things that I saw were not healthy. And even if what you did was try to do the opposite, so you wouldn't be like your grandmother or mom or aunties, that might not have been the thing for you, right? What if, I'll use an example. I think that oftentimes, you know, as mothers, what some women will do is they will raise their daughters to be like them, right? So maybe they stayed at home, and so they teach you how to be a housewife and a mother. But what if that daughter desires to do something else, right? Or you may have the mother who doesn't want you to stay at home or doesn't want you to depend on a man, and she teaches the daughter to like be independent and like you don't need a man. But maybe that woman, that daughter, grows up wanting to be a housewife, right? It's like we have forgotten that this experience of womanhood is broad, and that you can actually want to have a family and have a career, or you really can want to like not get married, right? Or you can want to, I don't know. It's like we really, what we needed was to see examples of everything and know that whatever it is that we decided and what we want is okay. And this is what happened in villages, right? Because your mom wasn't just by herself. Your mom could teach you what she could. And then there were other women that could teach you other things. And so you got the things that were great that your mom could offer, but you got other things from the other women. And so really, and we see this, you know, even in growing up with their families, you had the auntie who was, you know, that went to college or was a career woman, and she helped you because that was something that you wanted to do. But some of us didn't have that experience, right? We learned what mama and grandma said, and that's what we had to do. Or we did the opposite of what they did. And that's kind of my, you know, experience. I kind of did the opposite of what I saw. And it didn't work out, you know, so well. You know, it was great until it wasn't, because in that, and me doing the opposite, it didn't really consider what I really wanted. I actually did it in opposition of what I saw, not because that was really what was in my heart to do. I didn't even know to ask myself what I wanted. I just did what I thought would get me to a certain place, right? So I did the right thing. I did everything that was expected of me, and ended up having everything that I said that I wanted, and was totally dissatisfied. Why? Because I was disconnected from myself. It wasn't about what I wanted. And so here, now that we're older, you know, we get to experience what we didn't as young girls, with each other as sisters, with elders. And so, yeah, it's necessary. We need these spaces. And so that is what's really important to me, is creating these spaces so that we can get what we need, you know, because we have so much, so many resources. There's so much knowledge, you know, that we have, even just through our experiences, that we can share with each other to support one another, and do it in a way where, you know, everyone's getting supported. It's not something where, because oftentimes those of us who are comfortable in that role of helping others, we don't get what we need, right? And you know, you can't do that, but for so long, you end up empty. So here is a space where you get to give and receive, essentially. I think that is it. And so if you have any other questions, you know, as you are watching the replay of the video, you can drop them in the comments. But I love that you guys asked questions and commented. Thank you so much for watching. And my hope is to provide more things like this, videos, lives, and all of that good stuff. And so you will be seeing more of me. And if you are not following Akoma Wellness, make sure that you do that. I'll put the page in the comment section. So you can go to the website, make sure that you sign up on the website so that you can receive information about what we are doing. And real quick, and then I'm gonna hop off. Another event that we have going on, if you are in the DMV, is the Sisterhood Socials. And so once a month, we will be doing an event just for women to get together, to connect, and to have fun, right? So it's great to have these spaces where we can do more of our inner work, our personal development work. And it's great to just have spaces just to hang out. And so on this Friday, from 5:30 to 8, I believe, we are going to the Jazz in the Garden concert. It's free. And so really, when you sign up, it just allows me to know how big of a space that I need to reserve for us at the Sculpture Garden on the National Mall. And we can enjoy the jazz. I think it's like hip hop night, and just hang out. And so if you are in the DC area, I will also include the link to register for that event. And so make sure that you're following Nakoma Wellness so you can see what our social event is for next month. And I think that's it. And so thank you so much for those of you who joined me tonight. Thank you for your questions and comments. And thank you for those who are going to watch later. And I look forward to connecting with you again. And until next time, be whole, be love, and be free. Peace. Good night.